The street shimmered under the rain, neon signs bleeding color into puddles like open wounds. The man in the tailored suit moved fast, leather shoes striking the pavement with sharp authority, his phone pressed hard to his ear as if speed alone could solve the problem on the other end. His jaw was locked, eyes cold and fixed ahead, every step driven by habit and control. He hated the street, hated the smell of damp concrete and late-night desperation, hated how it slowed him down. Beside him, his small son struggled to match his pace, short legs working overtime, breath puffing white in the cold. The boy's hand was swallowed in his father's grip, fingers numbing, but the man didn't notice. His mind was elsewhere, meetings, losses, time slipping away, while the city closed in around them, alive and watching as if something was about to break. They passed a woman, crouched low against a metal, shutter streaked with rust and old posters. Her body folded inward as if trying to disappear. Rain dripped from the awning above, tapping the pavement beside her in a steady, unforgiving rhythm. Her hair clung to her face in dark, matted strands, and her eyes were fixed on the ground, trained there by long practice. A stroller sat tipped beside her, one wheel crooked, fabric sagging with damp. Inside it, a small teddy bear stared blankly at the street, its fur worn thin, one button eye missing. The man's shoulder brushed the cold air near her, close enough that she could smell his cologne. Clean. Expensive, unreal, but he never looked down. He shifted his path by half a step, a reflex learned over years of not seeing, of moving past need without slowing. To him, she was just another shape in the night, another delay to avoid. To her, the sound of his footsteps fading felt like confirmation of something she already knew. No one stops, no one ever does. The boy's steps slowed without warning, his small boots scuffing against the wet stone until his father's grip tugged sharply at his arm. He barely felt it. His eyes were locked behind them, fixed on the woman by the shutter, on the stroller, on the teddy bear staring into nothing. A tight pressure filled his chest, unfamiliar but overwhelming, like a memory he didn't know he had waking up all at once. His breathing hitched. Something about her felt wrong in a way that hurt. His fingers slipped free, sudden and desperate, and the space between them felt dangerous, like stepping off a curb into traffic. "Dad, wait," he said, his voice small but shaking, as if he were standing up to something much bigger than his father. The street noise seemed to fall back, stretching the moment thin, as the boy stood frozen between walking away and turning back, heart racing, knowing with terrifying certainty that if he didn't stop now, something precious would be lost forever. The man stopped mid-step, annoyance flaring hot and immediate, his mouth already forming a sharp reprimand. He turned with a sigh, irritation ready to spill, then it stalled in his throat. His son wasn't being stubborn. The boy's face had drained of color, eyes wide and shining, lower lip trembling as if holding back something too big to name. There was no childish confusion there, no whim. There was certainty, raw and frightening. The boy took a step back toward the woman, as though pulled by an invisible thread, his small body tense with resolve. His hand lifted again, pointing, not accusing, recognizing. "Dad," he said, louder now, voice cracking under the weight of it. "That's Mom." The word hit the air like a gunshot. The man felt the ground tilt beneath him, the city noise rushing back too loud, too close. His chest tightened, memories clawing upward, but he stayed frozen, staring at his child as fear crept in. Not of the street, not of the woman, but of what the boy might be right about. Time fractured around him. The phone slipped from his fingers without him feeling it leave, striking the pavement with a sharp, final crack that echoed too loudly in the narrow street. The sound carried, cutting through rain and traffic, and the woman flinched. Slowly, like it hurt to do so, she lifted her head. Her eyes found the fallen phone first, then followed the invisible line upward until they met his face. Her breath caught, a sharp intake she couldn't stop, and for a second fear rose, pure, defensive, before collapsing into something far more dangerous, recognition. Her shoulders stiffened, as if bracing for a blow that never came. The man stared back, unable to move, his heart slamming against his ribs, old memories forcing their way through the walls he'd built. The years between them vanished, leaving only the unbearable weight of the present as they stood locked in silence, each realizing the past had just stepped into the light. The world narrowed to the space between them. His mind flooded with images he had sealed away. White hospital walls, the smell of antiseptic, a doctor's voice too calm, papers pushed across a table with signatures already circled. He remembered how easy it had been to accept the story he was given, how relief had mixed with grief because believing she was gone meant he didn't have to keep hoping. His knees buckled before he realized what was happening, fabric darkening as he hit the wet pavement, the cold seeping through his suit like punishment. He whispered her name barely louder than the rain, the sound breaking apart as it left his mouth. Across from him, the woman shook violently, tears carving clean paths down her dirt-streaked face. Her hands hovered in front of her chest, unsure where to land, as if touching him or the truth might make it disappear. Years of survival screamed at her to run, but her body wouldn't move. All she could do was stare at the man who had once been her entire world, now kneeling before her like a confession too heavy to carry. The boy broke the silence first. He ran, shoes splashing through shallow puddles, small arms pumping with urgency that drowned out every fear he'd felt moments before. He didn't hesitate. He wrapped his arms around her legs, pressing his cheek into the rough fabric of her coat as if he'd done it 1,000 times in another life. The woman gasped, the sound tearing out of her, and her knees nearly gave way. Warmth spread through her where his hands held on, real and solid, anchoring her to the present. She looked down at him, really looked, tracing his face through tears, seeing pieces of herself reflected back. His eyes, his mouth, the way he leaned in without fear. Her hands finally moved, trembling as they hovered over his shoulders, then closed, clutching him like he might vanish. She sobbed into his hair, grief and love crashing together, while the city blurred around them, a silent witness to something broken finding its way back. The man rose slowly, legs unsteady, as if standing meant crossing a line he could never uncross. Rain slid down his face, indistinguishable from the tears he no longer tried to hide. He reached out, stopping inches away, giving her the choice he had once stolen from both of them. His voice broke when he spoke, stripped of power, of money, of pride. Just a man begging to be allowed back into the wreckage of his own life. The street seemed to hold its breath as she looked up at him, eyes red, jaw tight, pain warring with longing. For a heartbeat, it felt like she might turn away. Then she shifted closer to their son, grounding herself, and nodded once, small, fragile but real. He stepped in and wrapped his arms around them, careful, reverent, as if holding something sacred and easily shattered. Cars passed, people stared. The city kept moving, but inside that circle, time finally stopped running. He didn't look at his phone. He didn't look at the road ahead. For the first time, he chose to stay, and the night loosened its grip as their broken family stood together, no longer invisible,